Computer. Greetings and welcome to another fun episode of Photoshop Party. Woo! We're gonna party!
Yay!
I'm partying hard today.
With water.
Okay, today we're going to talk about selection tools, or some of them anyway, the ones I can remember how to use. We'll get it going and crank it up. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we'll go to Photoshop. And for those of you that are not members of an association, you might consider joining, whether it be Professional Photographers of California, Professional Photographers of Idaho, whichever state you belong to. You should join them because it is a learning experience, a lot of fun, and a lot of camaraderie. So, okay, enough of the plugs. Let's get down to business. I'm going to talk about one of the ancient selection tools, and that's the magic wand. It used to be called the tragic wand, but they have now done a whole lot to make it better. So it's now the magic wand. For me, this one works the best on an image like this, where I want to select just the white border. That's the fastest, easiest way to do it. So I'm going to hit W for wand, and we'll see what happens. And it brings up my magic wand. If you hit Shift W, it brings up your quick selection tool. Shift W again, object selection tool. Shift W again to magic wand. So if you want to go through and toggle through the various tools in a selection, that like W, all these, just hit Shift and then whatever letter it is, and you can toggle through them. That works good with the brush, works good with the healing brush tools, works really great. So one of the things about the fastest way for selecting the white here is click on with the magic wand, and you can see it selected the white. It did not select the white on his chest right there. And the reason is, when you're in the magic wand tool, you have a box here at the very top. It says contiguous. And basically that means when that's clicked, whatever color you click, it has to be connected to select it all. If I unclick contiguous and I clicked on the white again, look at his chest, and you can see that the white was selected on the Under Armour logo. And then also the highlights on the bat and the very tip of his nose were selected. So what I want to do is to make sure that only things that are connected to each other or contiguous with each other get selected. So if I hit Command D to deselect, or I could go up to select, deselect, it doesn't matter. Also, one thing that I learned recently that I've forgotten about is when you go to select, you can reselect what you had before. So it's all selected again. You can do a whole bunch. I'll Command D to deselect it again. You can make a whole bunch of corrections on there. I'm going to take my brush tool. Oops, B for brush, D for default colors, X to exchange them. Make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to.
Michael, how did you do the reselect, you said?
I'm going to show you right now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay. You've seen that I've made a whole bunch of additions to the picture right here, correct? So if I go up to select, reselect, it's going to reselect what I had selected before. So you go very top, the very top line, it says File, Edit, Image, all that good stuff. You go to Select, down to Reselect, or in this case, I'm going to deselect now. And so that's the magic wand tool. It works really great for doing things like that. Go back to open to beginning. One of the things about the magic wand tool, I want to select the blue color on his shirt. I'm going to set it really low right now just for fun. Turn off contiguous so I can collect all the blues. And I clicked on the blue in the shirt, and you see what it has selected. And the reason it's only selected a little bit, whoa, getting all over the place on here. Back to Photoshop. Here we go. Okay, if I click on certain areas, it actually is collecting a lot. My tolerance right now is set to 5, which means it's very low tolerance. So I'm going to deselect. I'm going to change the tolerance from 5 to 50, which raises the tolerance. And you see, one click will get you a lot more than just a little spot. For actually doing a person, magic wand's not the answer, but it is good for selecting colors. I'll hit Command D to deselect. I'm going to click on the black area, and you can see that it's selected the dark colors. If I set the tolerance back to 5 again, really low, Command D to deselect or Control D. I clicked on the black with the low tolerance, and it's picked up a lot of the whole black area. And you can see what I'm doing right now is I'm painting on the outside of him, which is picking up a little bit more area. Just painting on the outside. And with it set so low, it's hard to get a good selection. So let's change tools a little bit. Let's go Command D or Control D to deselect. And I'm going to go to Quick Selection Tool. The very top of the toolbar. Well, let's do Quick Selection Tool first. I'm going to drag across his head. Got the head selected, drag across the bat. Got the hand and the bat. And you can see as I'm dragging over his body, it's selecting the area. However, sometimes it wants to select a whole lot too much. And sometimes it doesn't want to select enough. So you just have to play with it. If you want to unselect an area like I'm doing on the white at the bottom, what you can do is push the Alt or Option key, and you see it turns from the plus to the minus. So if I want to deselect his head, hold the minus down, drag it across his face and head, and it takes a little while to get it to unselect things, where before it selected really fast. So now if I did a Command J, what it would do is bring up his body minus the head and some of the shoulders. So go backwards, hitting Control or Command Z.
Now we can insert your head in his place.
No, I ain't had a body like that in a long time.
You could have one again. 5 minutes.
Actually, less than 5 minutes, because the next tool I'm going to show you is Select Subject Tool. The very top, it says Select Subject. You also have, from the Select menu, you can go down to Select Subject. So if I click on Select Subject, wait a second, I don't have to wait 5 minutes. I've made my selection. I'm going to zoom in so you can see what kind of a selection it made. You can see the marching ants there.
What?
It didn't do too bad of a job.
What?
So that would be probably my go-to selection tool. There we go. So I'm fairly happy with that. There's probably some extra stuff I can do to it. So along with the select subject at the very top, you also have select and mask right next door to it. I like to make my selection prior to going to select and mask. Because what that does, I'm going to zoom in on his head, Z for zoom, just like all the other tools. Hold your space bar down and drag him down. And you can see the selection it did in his hair. That is not bad. I would have no complaints about that. You can also, at the very top of the select and mask, you can hit refine hair, and it does just a little bit more, but not bad. I'm on the refine it. I don't need to refine it. I mean, that thing did such a great job. I'm happy with that. And when I output at the very bottom right, well, just to go through some of the settings here, radius on edge detection, I'll normally set it to 2 pixels and click on smart radius. I don't smooth, I don't feather. Contrast occasionally, shift edge, I try to keep it at 0. There are occasions when you might want to go minus, which would cause your selection to contract a little bit. So if you have fuzzy on the outside. And then we have output 2, new layer with layer mask. And I need to move this out of my way. Click OK.
Mike, is that it? Oh, never mind.
Go ahead.
Nope. You just answered my question.
Okay.
When you click that.
You can see it did a new layer with the layer mask. So looking, I'll Z for zoom, zoom in, and you can see a hole right here. The reason why I go to selection with the layer mask or new layer mask, I can paint this in. B for brush, go to black. Black is the wrong color, no problem. Command Z, and I'm going to paint back in the areas that didn't come out.
What did that smart radius do for you?
It just kind of outsmarts me, so I don't have to do a whole lot of work. You can play with it, see if it works for you.
Okay.
Let's go ahead, do it again. Use a different tool this time. I'm not going to use select subject. I'm going to use select object. So let's go to object selection tool. I normally work with the lasso mode. You have lasso and rectangle. I'm going to do just the head, hopefully. We'll see how smart it is. That's not a bad selection. Click on
Pull it
select.
off the background.
What's that?
Pull it off the black background. Throw it on a different background.
I will shortly.
Okay.
So we'll do select and mask again. And I'm going to Z for zoom so I can zoom in and get a closer shot. Right now, it looks like everything is selected like it should be. Change from black to white. You got a little bit of black on the left-hand side here. So what we can do is take a refine edge brush, which is on the left-hand side, the second one from the top, the refine edge brush. And I'm just going to kind of drag it in between the hairs a little bit. And you see the magic that is happening here. It's almost scary magic.
How'd you do that?
Mike, at the top, you have that 90-degree thing angle. Does that play a part in any of this?
No, not that I know. I don't have any idea what that thing does.
Okay, so that don't pay any attention to it then. Okay. I was wondering if that had something to do with the opacity or strength or something.
It's an angle of some sort,
Okay.
but I don't know what it does.
Okay.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Behind the curtain. Okay.
You see nothing here.
Mhm.
So basically, That's a fairly clean cutout, except I need to get rid of the puka shells on the right-hand side and the collar on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go to a brush and just paint them out. And I'm working with my mouse and not my Wacom tablet right now, so it may not be an exact perfect cutout, but it's going to be close. I'm being lazy and not breaking out the Wacom. There we go. Close enough. I can sit there for a little bit longer and do it, but you guys don't want to watch me do it. And then I have new layer with layer mask selected. Click OK. Command 0. So now I have just the head. And we'll look at the cutout that it did. And that's pretty dang cool. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add a background in there really quick. So I got to find my backgrounds, photos, and we'll go to stock. Texture shots. Let's add a weird texture behind him. Place in Photoshop. Boom. So there's your extra background that you wanted, and his head's coming out of the background. We could obviously put some shadow underneath him and make it look like, let's go to 30%. Just playing around, being weird. So that's that tool. So let's close him out. Don't save. Now, what tool to use for the bird here? Any suggestions? Magic wand tool?
Select subject.
Select subject? Okay, that's too easy. I mean, that is just way too easy. That's the cutout that it did without any adjustments at all.
Beautiful.
And it's not perfect, but I tell you what, that ain't bad.
No kidding.
There's some things that could have been cleaned up really fast, but so let's take it back where it was. I'm going to use a magic wand tool just for fun, just to show you it can be done, but it's not easy and it's not perfect either. So if I click with the magic wand tool, I'm going to do contiguous just to make sure. And I have the plus in the upper left-hand corner of my toolbar up here. You have your regular magic wand, you have addition to and subtraction from, and then you have another one that will do something funky on you. That's not going to work too good. I'm not liking that. So Command D or Control D to deselect.
Well, Michael, if you increased your tolerance, since there's really no green in the bird,
There's
it
a
would
little bit.
probably select it pretty quickly. Well,
Yeah,
except
it
for
will. There's a little bit of green in the bird, but let's go ahead and do that. You can see there's some green tint, green showing in there. I bumped it up to 75. Let's bump it back down to 50 and do the same thing again. As soon as I find my cursor, there we go. And again, it did it again. So That's not going to work,
Fine.
but Command D to deselect. Let's go to select at the top, select color range. And what I'm going to do is I take my fuzziness all the way down to 10. My selection preview right now is set to none. You can do quick mask where it's going to show that's your selection. Go back to none again. And I'm going to select the green out here. Why is it starting off already? It's already done a fairly decent job of selecting. I haven't even started. So if I click OK, it's already got a selection started. You can see the greens, such as in his eye right here. It picked up some of the greens. So let's deselect and do it again. Command 0. Go to select color range. I'm going to click outside in this area. And then I'm going to hit the minus and click on his feathers in the back. And you can see it's doing something funky there. Go to plus again. And with the color range, you can drag it around like you're coloring the outside.
Oh, wow.
And just drag it, click and drag, and it will get a lot of the selection done for you. And you can see that it needs to be cleaned up under his chin there. But it doesn't want to clean up there. That's okay. And I'm going to change my selection preview from none to quick mask. And you can see the areas that still aren't quite caught up on. Okay, so if I hold option and bring up the minus, but when I do that, it also takes out some of the other colors. So let's go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to do a very unknown kind of thing called the quick mask tool. The quick mask is right below your color settings. There's a little, looks like a camera, your mask tool there. Or if you can't find it, hit Q for quick mask. And you hit B for brush. And I'm going to paint in the areas. And I'm looking at it going, why is it not painting? Well, my opacity is set to 30%. So let's go ahead and bump it up to 100%. And just paint in the little spots that are showing up. I'm going to paint over the eyeball. And I want to make sure that my hardness is set to 100% because when I get along the edges, I want to make sure that I'm controlling my edge. If you're using a soft brush, then what's going to happen is your brush is going to spray over on the side. So let's go ahead and paint in his beak right here. And we're going to paint the areas that are showing up as black. We don't want that. Go to bigger brush, I'm going too slow. If you miss, that's okay. You can see that I missed a little bit along the edge here. So I'm going to hit X to exchange the colors. And if I have a straight line, I'll hold the shift key and it'll paint a straight line for me. Exchange the colors again with X, go on the inside, hold my shift key to get a straight edge. And that looks, ooh, there's a little bit of red over here. So let's go ahead, take out my red over here, paint it out. And that looks like a fairly decent selection. Hit Q for quick mask again, it should go out, which it didn't. But I click on the quick mask and I can see where my cursor is right here. There's a little flashing dot in a couple other places. So I'll hit Q for quick mask again. Paint it, paint it. And now you have a selection of a bird really quick. Well, not really quick, but if you need to add things, the quick mask is a wonderful thing. Command J. And you can see I did a great extraction of the bird's head. Why did that happen? Well, this is, the green is the area that's selected. And with the quick mask, it will do just the opposite of what you want. So you have to hit Command Shift I, and that shifted my selection. So now the outside is selected, not the inside. So back to Q, hit Command J. This time we have a bird's head selected. So there you go with the quick selection tool. Don't save. Okay. Anybody recognize this guy?
Of course I do.
Fluffy. He is a fantastic entertainer if you're a photographer. Fluffy will pose for you. He knows you have 5 minutes to deal with him. And towards the end of the 5 minutes, he said, okay, I got to pose for the photographer so I get some good pictures and he makes me look good. Otherwise, he won't make me look good. So he started posing for me and did like 15 poses really quick. And I'm like, click, 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 click. So, okay. Best tool for selecting him. Select subject, or we can go to the object selection tool, and I'm going to go to rectangle this time and just drag it over him. And it did a fantastic job, except for, and I knew it was going to do this, right above his ear and below his ear, there's a little bit of a selection there that needs to be done. So if I go to the Lasso Tool, another selection tool, and I hold down the Option key, that will take away my selection right along there and get in a little bit tighter. And then above his ear, we'll go around, get in a little tighter. I'm not worried about perfection yet. And the very top of the toolbar at the very top up here, it says Select and Mask. Click on Select and Mask. I'm going to go to the Refine Edge on the second one down from the top. Just go to Refine Edge. Make a little bit smaller brush. And I'm going to go to my brush tool, add, take away. So I'm going to Command Z to take that away, and I'll hold the Option key. And Angela, can you mute yourself for me, please? We're hearing some food going on, and I'm jealous. And down the right side, let's go ahead and use the brush down here. And then I'm going to go back to my Refine Edge brush across the hair, or Refine Hair, see what that does. That did really bad. When I hit Refine Edge on the, or Refine Hair, I'll zoom in on the top for you. You can see it needs a little bit of work on his right, our left side. So I'm going to hit refine hair, and you can see it just went across his forehead and screwed that up too. So did not like that. So refine edge brush, let it do the magic. And the thing about the refine edge brush is you want to have it part on the head and part on the hair. If you do just the outside, nothing happens except to select a little bit up here and said, I'll take that, which I didn't want. So you want part on the outside, part on the inside, so it covers both areas. And normally it works really good with the skin as well. Then on the shoulder, you got to really zoom in and see what you got going on there. And again, looking at the edges, everything looks pretty good. I'm going to hit new layer with layer mask. It always remembers my last setting, so let's go ahead and click OK, see what happens. Hey, that's not bad. I'm going to add another layer underneath him. So to add a layer underneath him, I hit Command or Control and click on the plus layer, and it adds a layer below. I'm going to fill it with white. So Command backspace or Command delete, it fills it with white. Oh, that's pretty cool. I'm liking that. Let's go ahead and make a copy layer above everything. I'm going to go to Edit, Sky Replacement. And let's go to, I don't want blue skies. I want a sunset. Let's go with sunset. Nope. There we go. We'll take that, click OK. And that's how fast you add a sunset to him behind him. And you can also dim that down just a little bit if you wanted to. Sky replacement. Let's drag down so it looks almost realistic. If you look at the edges, that is not bad. Ooh, ugly right there. I missed a spot, and I missed a spot along there. So that's areas where we'd clean it up with the layer mask that I missed. B for brush. Make it smaller so we can get in there really good. Paint it back in. Nope, too far. X. Over here. Get rid of that little spot right there. There we go. That is fluffy. So, any questions on some of the selection tools that we've covered today?
I have a question, not necessarily on a selection tool, but in the past, you've shown us how to sort of fuzz just the edge, the 1 or 2 pixels, just to make it sort of blend into the background. So it doesn't look like a cutoff. What do you do? How do you do that?
Well, let's go ahead and share screen again. Share screen. Photoshop. What I would do with this is I'd hide sky replacement, get rid of that layer just for fun. And then let's go ahead and get rid of the layer mask. We'll apply. And what you can do here is add a new layer mask. It's weird that we're going to do this, but I'm going to add a new layer mask, and I'm going to fill it with black so that that wasn't what I wanted to do. Never mind. I'm trying to outsmart myself here. So let's go ahead and go to a new layer. So Command J. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Filter, Blur Gallery. I'm sorry, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And I'm going to bump it just so you start to see it. So let's say about 2 pixels, give or take. Click OK. Now if I fill it with black, fill the mask with black, he comes back. I'm going to get a soft edge brush, B for brush, right click, hardness goes down to 0. And I'm just going to paint with white along the edge. In fact, that might be a little bit too hard of a blur. Just kind of paint along the edge to kind of soften that edge up a little bit.
Blur.
So it doesn't look like he was extracted.
Yeah, okay.
Just a slight blur, very slight. Don't get heavy-handed on it. Any other questions? Hi, Dan Holmes. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Good, Michael. Thank you.
Congratulations on your images.
No, thanks. It was a lot of fun.
Did much better than I did.
You know, Michael, if I understand that last question about softening the edge, don't forget that back in the select and mask, you have an option of feathering and smoothing the edges.
You can do that as well, correct.
That's a good place to do that before you actually close it out.
You can do that to some extent, because sometimes you may want to blur it depending on your background. You may blur it just a little bit more, and you don't have,
Right.
I guess in select and mask, you can also show your background.
You've
If you
got all
haven't,
kinds of yeah, you got a lot of different options there for showing the
Right.
background, showing a quick mask, all those things that can help you in doing that.
right. And well, like they say in Photoshop, there's 10 different ways to do everything. So
The other thing that the question somebody had was about the angle. And that's actually the angle of the brush. And frankly, I've never found that it makes a hell of a lot of difference as long as you're using a round brush.
yeah, exactly.
You do have the option of changing in select and mask. You have the option of changing that brush to a different roundness. So
Okay.
it can be oval or whatever. And then if you're, for example, masking the right side of your subject, you may want the angle headed over towards the left or vice versa. Again, with the round, I've just never found it makes much difference, but.
Yeah, I've always used a round brush in there, so I've never even thought about it. I
think
go
that's
with it.
really the reason for the angle being there, though.
Okay. Cool. You learn something every day. Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to stop recording at this point.